What up? I'm Taylor.
And I'm Whitney.
I'm Mom.
I'm Dad.
And we're the Ghost Sisters and Family again.
Part 4. Splash. That's Mom's new thing. Splash. So.
You're not gonna... I thought you had a...
Sploosh.
No. You're just gonna... Okay.
Boom.
Sploosh. That's what it was. Everyone's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
If you played Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, you know what I'm talking about.
Pretty great.
It's an awesome game. So, we're picking up with where we left off for episode 3. No, part 3 for part 4.
Just say we're picking up.
We're picking up
there
with
you
the
go.
former sick bay.
Picking up where we dropped off
Last time.
last time.
Yeah. So, if you're new to this, we're doing evidence review for the Lexington, USS Lexington that we went to on March 30th. You can
Honestly, I feel like if you're new to this and you picked
this
part
one.
4, you are clearly a chaotic person. So enjoy, I guess.
Yeah,
but you should
exactly.
maybe go back a little bit.
Yeah,
But
go back a couple
go for it.
episodes. So, at the former sick bay, this is what is the current mess hall in the USS Lexington, and it's kind of broken apart in a couple weird ways. Like, there's one half of it you can like sit in, the other half is like a bunch of ship toy exhibit kind of things. It was weird. So it's
crazy during the day.
yes,
Like jam packed.
oh yeah, it was just crazy.
And lots of ladders.
Yes. So, the only thing that we had issues with in the former sickbay area was there was a recording.
And it freaked me the fuck
It freaked
out.
all of us out initially. So when we're walking through, there's a recording of like the mess hall sounds that you would hear. But there is a point at which there's a woman that comes through and it sounds like, oh, or something.
Yeah, she sounds like she's in distress. And it was like, we had all kind of passed by it. And it like, my like blood ran cold. I was like, the fuck was that? And even Nancy was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she was like,
And
did
we
you
went
guys
back
hear
over
that?
there and we stood there. And then it happened again with the recording. And we were like, oh. And then after we get done with the mess hall and we go do something else, we do end up coming back by the mess hall. And we hear that again. And I was like, what the fuck? Because it startled us again.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and there's some tinking noises that like, we keep hearing this tink, and then Whitney will say, did you hear that tink? And then we're like, I think that's the recording. So
Yeah.
the things that were pulled in here were things that they are unquestionable what we heard, because there were a lot of things that I was like, I'm pretty sure that was the recording.
Because they tried to make it sound like it's a full cafeteria. So, like, people
Yes.
are in there talking, people are in there eating. So, you got plates going, you've got forks and stuff. But then they have the sound, like, the woman in distress apparently really wanted, like, mashed potatoes or something. And they didn't have them. So, it's people ordering their food,
Yeah.
too. It's a whole...
But that's so odd to put in there somebody that's like, oh.
Yeah,
it was weird.
It just doesn't fit, like, because there's men and they're like, oh...
I would think there'd be laughing and
And
There
there
is.
is laughing.
But it's just that one instance, because we thought that something had come through on the speaker to try to get our attention.
Yeah.
And
But then it comes back, like, it finally loops back through
Yeah.
and you hear it again. And so you're like,
okay. Yeah. So, and Nancy was like, they get most of the things whenever we do these things because they'll turn off everything so
they
that
do
you don't
have
hear this.
videos that will play on their own, like next showing in 10 minutes kind of deal. And
Yeah.
it like does its own loop. But whenever they do these things, they try to have them all turned off so there's not sound. And that,
This one was either missed or it can't
Yeah.
be turned off or something. Because people don't normally, as we learn, George and Nancy don't normally take people here.
Oh, okay.
This was an area that Whitney and I were like, let's go there. And they were like,
okay.
all right. Like, you know, it's
Because
like people
normally
don't.
they go to the regular sick bay and they're like, all right. No, I was like, but this wasn't the sick bay.
Right.
So if there
Yeah.
was someone attached to the sick bay, I would expect them to be
In the sick
in
bay.
the sick bay.
Yeah.
But
So we get in there and we kind of get settled. We've got the dowsing rods, recorders. I've got one on one table. Whitney's got one on another table across the room. And then Nancy and George are sitting at separate tables but next to each other. And Nancy has her K2 out. And then we've set cat balls on the tables around. And we set up, we start asking questions. And Whitney's got the dowsing rods. And then she said, do y'all, no, I had the dowsing rods first. Yeah. So, because we sat there for a minute and then
I recorded you with my phone.
Yeah. And you were
and
like,
I had my recorder for once.
Yeah. And you were like, or no, I said, are you going to ask questions? And then
I was like, why do I have to keep asking
she was
the
like,
questions?
oh, why am I asking questions?
Do this.
So she said, do y'all want to play with the dowsing rods? And it said yes. And because at this point they were moving back and forth. And we were like, that hasn't happened before. And so she said, do you want to spin them? We got no response. And then I said, is there more than one spirit in here right now? And it said, yes. And then I said, do you want me to put it back to neutral for you? Because at this point it could say yes or no, but it could not put it back to neutral for whatever reason. And so it crossed harder. Like it went from like this to like this. And I was like, okay, I will put it back to neutral for you. I said, does it take a little bit for you to get used to the dowsing rods? And it didn't say anything. I said, are you male? No response. Are you still here with us? No response. Is there anyone else here? Yes. And then something happened that took our attention away from it. And so I asked again, is there anyone else here that would like to talk to us? And it said yes. And then I said, were you in this area when it was a sick bay? Now, we get a response to this on both my recorder and on Whitney's phone. And it is loudest on Whitney's phone, which means that it was closer to her. Yeah. So she did not like this.
I had my recorder on.
It was not on your recorder.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My recorder was with me and my phone. So like it set it to my phone.
Yep. And it must have been between me because it caught on my recorder too. So I'm going to play on my recorder first, and then I'm going to play the video from Whitney's phone. Okay. Were you in this area when it was a sick bay? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So you can, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, he says yes.
He says yes. Now,
he doesn't say yes.
He says yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says yeah. So here is that same thing, but on Whitney's phone this time.
And this is a video.
It's a video. Okay. Were you in this area when it was a sick bay?
You need to clean your lens.
That's what you took away from it.
Why do I get told that whenever Taylor's was just as bad?
I don't know.
But anyway, so, but you can hear that it is clearly louder on Whitney's phone than it is on my recorder. So, the dowsing rods responded yes. And, I said, were you here as a patient? They responded yes again. And I said, Whitney asked, are you still hurting? And at this point, the dowsing rods do respond yes, but we also get a verbal response as well. Okay, so here's that. This was on my recorder.
I was like, don't say my phone.
No, it was on my recorder only.
Are you still hurting?
Heard it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't hear.
I feel like I heard two. I feel like I heard a yeah, and then a yeah.
Yeah, there's a definite there's a, how do I want to say? There's a clear one, I guess I should say. Like, it's a clear tone of voice towards the end, but I didn't hear a second.
To me, it sounds like in the middle between the question and what you say is the clear one. I feel like there's like a breathy, yeah.
Okay. Well,
very soft.
Let's play it again.
Are you still hurting? Yeah, I hear it twice.
I hear it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I just heard the one.
Yeah,
I
just
like
heard.
It's far away.
Yeah. It sounds. Yeah. So
I don't hear the breathing.
Yeah. So we asked, is that why you're having troubles putting it back to neutral? You're still in pain? It said yes. Is there a reason you're still here? It said yes. Do you like being here? Yes. Is there anything that you would like to tell anybody or a message that you would like to get out? It just wiggled back and forth again. So we took that to mean I don't know. So Whitney said at one point, do you want to give them a hard wiggle? And they wiggled harder. So We don't know. We don't know why. We didn't get any kind of response to that question because we told them if you need to use our energy or something to say something into the recorders, you're welcome to do that. Is that okay? We got no response, and we got nothing EVP wise for that. So that was all that we did for the former sick bay. We asked George and Nancy, like, what kind of stuff do you typically get here? And that was when they told us we don't typically come here. So, and we didn't. Aside from the dowsing rods, we didn't know about the EVP part of it until like 2 days later. Whitney sent me a video and was like, "That's a fucking voice."
It was not 2 days later. It was the car ride home.
Oh, it was the car ride
And
home.
I
Yeah.
just, for shits and giggles, was like, "Let me listen." And I was like, "Dude, it fucking says yeah."
Yeah. So we head to what is called the Texas Navy Theater next, and this was a kind of like a museum for
There's
old Navy.
Well, and there's
stuff.
a ship called the
Houston.
Texas or the Houston.
The Houston, yeah.
And that's part of what this
Yeah.
museum was for.
Yeah, so we get there, and so George and I, as we're walking in, we notice that there is a movie playing on the screen, but there's no sound with it. Nancy and Whitney didn't notice this.
See,
Don't know why you didn't notice.
I feel like it was not on.
Well, maybe it turned, or maybe it was like looping whenever y'all walked by.
Maybe,
but
I don't know,
because
like
they were a little behind us. George and I were ahead, and they were maybe
'Cause
about
we had
30 seconds behind
we
us.
had a separate thing happen in a dental office area.
Yeah.
So I told you there's the mannequins and everything, and like we walked in and we saw that the dentist area was going, and I turned around and looked at Nancy. I don't know why I did, and she was like, "Welcome to the dentist's office," and her K2 meter went off. Just so, and we both were like, "Okay," and we just kind of stood there for a second. And then we were like, all right, well, moving on. And so we just figured it was like, someone was like, yep, welcome here.
Hello.
So,
yeah.
So we were kind of trailing behind, and then we went in.
Okay. Yes. So when we get in there, there's like two separate areas. There's the area where the movie was playing, and then you turn the corner and there are two rooms in front of you. There's one that has like a makeshift or a replica of an old school ship steering wheel, like the classic pirate ship kind of thing. And it has some old like implements that they would use and some fake cannons and stuff. And then the other side is a movie area where there's a row of benches or pews or something. And then there's a movie that would play, but that was turned off. So Whitney and I go to put our recorders down, and I put one down where there's a bunch of like old cannonballs or like cannon fodder kind of stuff. And then she puts one in the other area, and then one on top of the ship's steering wheel.
So there's one in the room with like the pews where the movie would be.
Yes. Okay. And so what's interesting is we catch on both of our recorders, but it's louder on Whit's recorder. Another instance of it being like, did she say that or did I say that? But this one is slightly different than the others.
Going down.
Okay. You didn't hear anything?
I didn't hear anything.
Whitney kind of looked like she did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going down.
Was it right there? It's like,
It's a very sad woman saying, okay.
Uh-huh.
She goes, okay.
Yep.
at the first?
At the very end.
The very end of it.
Very end. Okay.
I'll play it again, and then we'll listen to the one on Whitney's recorder, which is much louder.
Okay.
Going down.
I heard it then.
Yeah.
It's a
It just
very...
sounds like a couple of beeps to me.
Oh, it sounds like a really sad... Okay.
Yeah, she's real sad.
Yeah. So here is Whitney's recorder, where it's much louder.
Okay.
Going down.
Yeah, I heard it there.
Yeah.
Much better.
So she was clearly closer to Whitney's. But that was one that I had to listen to several times to be like, are we sure that's not
And
Whitney?
again, it's a
But
woman's voice.
it's a woman.
It is, yeah. So clearly we had a woman or a series of women with us through
Yeah.
the
Because
investigation.
the other ones haven't sounded sad.
No.
No.
this
Like
one-
that.
Maybe because I was like, I'm going down. Because I was tired.
She
That
was
me
very
yawning.
tired.
Well, I
was
heard you yawn.
really
Yeah.
struggling, and then Taylor laughing at
Oh.
something. Were you laughing at me?
Yes.
Rude.
Yeah, I was laughing at you because I
That's
was like,
rude.
this chick over here can't stop yawning. But I yawned very quickly after
But,
that. So
I was gonna say maybe the spirit was like, or maybe the spirit's tired too, and they're like,
Could be.
okay, like,
we're still
fuck,
going.
Shit, let's
I
do
didn't
this.
know
I
it was
guess.
going to take this long.
Yeah.
God damn.
So we go into the room with the benches and stuff, and we all sit down. We start asking dowsing rod questions. I say, is there anybody in here with us? And it says yes. Have you been following us through the ship? Yes. Do you like hanging out with us? Or do you just like hanging out with us? No response. Or do you like talking to us? No response. Do George and Nancy know your name? Yes. And then George asked me to ask that.
Yeah,
He said
ask
them if they know, if we know their name. So Nancy asked, Ronald, is that you? And we got no response. So I said, Ronald, are you the one that's here now? And we got no response. And then Nancy asked, Irving, is that you? And it said no response. And then I said, Irving, is that you? If you confirm it, we'll let you rest. And it said yes. So we kind of got the feeling, because this was the same energy that had been struggling to really do the dowsing rods, that we think Irving was the one that followed us through the ship.
And who is Irving?
We're going to talk about him. So
Okay.
at this point, out of nowhere, so George and Nancy start kind of telling us about Ronald and Irving. And at one point, the movie that had been playing when George and I walked in and Whitney and Nancy didn't see on, which you'll hear them like, was that even on when we walked in? That movie music turns on and then turns back off. And it didn't do that again after that.
And it's not like, welcome to it's literally like a wham, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh, how
So
weird.
here is that. Oh, movie, okay. But that wasn't on earlier. It was on, yeah, the video was on, but the sound wasn't.
Okay, because like when we sat down, I could see the reflection. I don't remember the video.
Yeah, there was a video on.
It's very faint. In that.
It's faint on both of them.
That's
it was
weird.
so
It was
loud.
so loud because it startled
It
me.
started us,
Something
yeah.
in there, I thought,
You think you hear it like?
after it's done.
Could be. I was just focused on the getting the sound having turned on and that kind of stuff. Do you want me to play it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, movie, okay. But that wasn't on earlier. It was on, yeah, the video was on, but the sound wasn't.
Okay, because like when we sat down, I could see the reflection. I don't remember the video.
Yeah, there was a video on.
I think I mean, I can hear George talking, me talking, you talking. I
But
don't think
there's-
Nancy was talking.
There's like something that goes on, and I don't know why I think above y'all.
See, that's weird. I feel like the sound of the video is above us. I don't know why, but it sounds like listening to it if I could see the
like
waves.
it's like, wah, and then there's like this little, and then there's like something I hear above that, but it might not be
Because the
anything.
video sound, it sounds like it starts playing and then it plays while we're still talking about it.
Yeah, so it plays through us talking about
Quite a
it,
bit,
and then
and
it stops. And then it turns off. It doesn't do it again after that. So, yeah, I didn't hear anything else in there, but we can listen again and see.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we don't. But that wasn't on earlier. It was on. Yeah, the video was on, but the sound wasn't.
Okay, because like when we sat down, I could see the reflection. I don't remember the video.
Yeah, there was a video on.
It was right when you all are talking. There's just a little. I don't know. It might just
I
be.
think I know what you're talking about. It almost sounds like an electronic, like not static, like a
little
or something.
wiggle or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
But I don't know that that's anything.
yeah. I was
Or
gonna
if
say
it's
I don't,
just-
or maybe the recorder caught it turning off
Maybe.
and it made a sound or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it just made a wah sound.
Yeah, it was.
It was battle noises,
Okay.
like somebody rushing into battle and the general sound of war. And you can hear people, like you can hear, when I think back to it and you listen to it really, really loud, you can hear like clinking of metal and stuff like that. So maybe that's what you're hearing is like a clinking.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, it was a very strange
yeah.
thing. So at this point, George and Nancy are telling us about Irving Klein. And Irving Klein was, they have an exhibit down in one of the engine rooms that's called The Story of Charlie or something like that.
Hi, my name is Charlie.
Hi, my name is Charlie, yeah. And George was asking us, did we listen to that? And I was like, no, we saw it, but we had this group behind us that was literally just like trying to become us, I guess. They were just trying to like embed themselves in us. They were very annoying. So we were trying to get away from them and we just never made it back to that part to listen to it. But it turns out that Charlie is just a generic name that they use for an unidentified individual. And it turns out that this individual was named Irving Klein, and he was killed when the torpedo occurred. So,
and they figured this out, George and Nancy, through speaking to Irving. It's not that some historian came in and was like, did you know about this guy named Irving Klein? Like, they spoke with him and were like, what about this? What about that? And then eventually landed on, this is who you are. And they have photos of him.
They do, yeah. So they told us that Irving has been photographed in this exact area where George was like, I don't want to tell you what he looks like just in case you see him or something, because I don't want to twist what you see. And so he told us later there's a very distinctive description of him.
I don't think that we should say it either.
No, yeah, because if somebody else goes out there, But he said that a woman got a picture of him and he was standing there kind of like behind, I think she was photographing her kid or something.
Kind of like,
and he was standing
not protective, but
kind
like
of behind
he was
him, like I'm here too, kind of thing. And then the next photo, it shows him kind of stepping towards her. And she said that, I guess they told us that she felt freaked out by it, so she left. But it turns out Irving, he's been known for helping people aboard and people being like, oh, that man that was dressed like a sailor, he was so helpful. And they're like, nobody here is in costume.
Oh, wow.
And and so they're like, Irving, likes to help people. We were like, wouldn't it be funny if he was the one that's been following us through the ship, making all this spooky stuff happen, so that we get the experience we're hoping for because he's so helpful. And so at this point, this is what we're talking about, and we get a kind of whispery thing on my recorder.
So doing research, which will take you over and show you Irving Klein.
Okay, let me play it again. It's very quiet, and it's over George and Nancy talking.
So doing research, which will take you over and show you Irving Klein.
I
hear it, but I can't.
I hear like, there's a yeah, and then like, he's like, yeah. But I also feel like I hear, yeah, it will.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I definitely hear yeah. Like, I heard
it like 3 times.
Yeah, I said the first one says yeah, I think, and then I said the next one, I'm not sure what the second one says.
It sounds like it goes,
See, yeah. To me, it sounds like, yeah, it will.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the it will be for, or
yeah.
like, or yeah, you will, because they were saying it will we'll do this or something like
Right.
that. So I don't know.
Yeah. While they're giving us some history about the ship, they're still talking about some other things that have happened. And this one's a little innocuous. It could be settling. It could be something legit, but we catch something kind of making some noise next to Whit's recorder. It's very quick.
That's a tap.
Yeah, it's just a tap.
Yeah, just heard the tap.
So, and it's next to your recorder only. I don't hear it on my recorder or your other recorder. So,
So the one that was on the steering
Yeah.
wheel? Okay.
yeah. So, again, that could be the
That was
wood because
The
it was
pirate trying to take
It's
charge.
his wooden leg.
maybe, but yeah, it was
There
a
you
wooden it was a wooden stand and the AC was on, and so it could be the wood itself popping, or there are ways to debunk that, but it was definitely not something that we heard. It wasn't caught on any other recorders, so it was kind of worth mentioning.
Yeah, I would think if it was settling,
Mhm.
you would hear it, at least on yours, because it was in the same vicinity.
Right. So at this point, we decide to go to the captain's quarters in the admiral's conference room, but we decide to stop by what's known as the torpedo area first because we wanted to they wanted to take us over there and give us a chance to kind of see. They have a display of everybody that was killed in the torpedo accident, and Irving Klein's picture was up there, his plaque was up there, but they don't have a picture of it.
Yeah, they don't have a photo.
And it was for the 90th something. It was 90th something of this particular thing. So they took us by there. We didn't get anything there. It was in the mess hall. There was a movie playing and the sound was on, so it was really difficult to hear if we got anything
When
there.
you say the mess hall, what?
I'm sorry, not the mess hall, the little food court area
Yeah.
that's on the hangar bay area. So we decide after that to go on ahead towards the captain quarters, and there is a room that has a bunch of pictures of previous captains that are on the Lexington. And we hadn't gone here because we saw what we thought was captain's quarters. We actually saw the captain's quarters that was connected to the bridge, which is like, if the captain needs to be readily available on the bridge, he would stay there. But he had an actual nice quarters someplace else. So this was our first time coming in there. And I kind of zeroed in on a photo of one of the previous captains. And this guy is Captain Donald E. Moore. And he is a dead ringer for somebody who we're not necessarily related to, but we've all, he was very in our lives and stuff. He looks almost exactly like Butch.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, he does.
Yep.
Yeah, so we thought it was odd that, his last name was Moore and that we do have Moores in our family line and stuff. So we were like, that's kind of interesting. We didn't go much further into it, but that was something that popped up. That then George and Nancy found it was interesting that we kind of zeroed in on him and that he looked familiar and that his name matches a name, a series of names that we would have and stuff. So that was just a little thing that was interesting. So we head to the captain's quarters, and at this point, I've got my camera running. We've got our recorders going in the K2, but we really just kind of walked through the captain's quarters and didn't really stop and do stuff. However, when we walk into the captain's quarters, Whitney experiences something that I happened to catch on our cameras and stuff like that I'll play for you here. Oops, I turned my thingy off. Wow. Yeah, this is nice. Wow.
Don't do that. No.
What?
Don't do that. I heard a thump in there.
Oh, I just heard it too.
No,
That was a clink, like a tap.
but I heard like if someone set that down. And I was trying to make sure it wasn't
And Whitney's response was, no, we don't do that.
don't do that. It's not the floor.
This is really nice. Like,
It's like a normal sized bed and stuff.
right, yeah, it's real nice being a captain. And
Two side tables.
yeah. So, and at one point we even make a note that the side table that's next to the bed looks very similar to a side table that y'all have. So, but it was just really that thump. it
And
never
so-
happened again.
And in that, because you can't see it on there, in that closet, so the one that Taylor was next to was obviously a head. And then next to me was like an actual closet. And so in there they have a mannequin, of course, and then a suitcase on the floor, and then like some uniforms hanging up. But that's what it sounded like, is someone had that suitcase and set it down on the floor. And I remember hearing it, and I didn't even look at it. I just went, no. And then I started moving and doing all that shit.
Yeah.
But
So that was really all that happened to Captain's quarters. Then we went into the Admiral's conference room. Just beyond the Admiral's conference room, there is the Admiral's bedroom, like his quarters, much smaller than the Captain's, because even though the Admiral outranks the Captain is still the captain of the ship. So he holds a higher importance than the Admiral does. We sit down at the Admiral's conference room. I'm sitting at the very end of the table towards the Captain's quarters. Whitney is sitting at the other side of the table on the other end, nearest to the Admiral's quarters. Nancy is like 2 seats away from me, and George is like 2 seats away from Whitney towards the center of the table. Okay. We have my recorder. Whitney's camera is shooting towards Nancy and George and I. And we have cat balls set out on 2 of the tables, and then one on the main table, and then one in the doorway that leads towards the Captain's quarters.
put a recorder by that as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've also got the millimeter and the K2 sitting on the table. And we all get settled in. I pull out the dowsing rods, and they automatically opened out to no. And when I said something about it, they swung closed to yes. And we were like, what the hell? So I said, is there anybody in here with us right now? It said yes. Then we went through a series of camera issues because Whitney needed to charge her camera, but then the light was green, and so we had to fix all of that. And so I sat back down and asked again, is there anybody in here with us right now? It said yes. I said, Irving, is that still you with us? It said no. It had no response. And then George said, ask if it's Ronald. And so I said, Ronald, is that you? And it said yes. Then I said, Ronald, have you also been following us around? And we got no response. And at this point, I was like, Nancy, why don't you take the dowsing rods? Because they don't know us. You know, like I felt like maybe Nancy would have better luck, because she said that whenever they initially started this, when she heard in her head when they set out all the equipment, grab the dowsing rods. And so she grabbed them, and she has had great success with them ever since. So I was like, here, why don't you take the dowsing rods? And it is so drastically different how they act with her versus how they act with me. So I have a video showing that, and you'll see them with me in my hands, and they just stay straight out. But then when Nancy takes them, they go crazy. So here's that.
Around. One of the others welcome to do the dowsing rods if you get a lot of success with them.
Did you bring yours?
Yeah, I got mine too.
They're very happy.
This is exactly what we wanted. Hi, Ronald. Wow, that is crazy. Are you checking everything out?
Do y'all hear that? It's like it almost sounds like, I thought it was those making a weird whine.
It is. Yeah.
Is it?
I think it is probably.
Okay.
Are you wondering what those red things are?
Can you explain to him what that is?
These are lights so that we can see in the dark and we can see motion and movement while all the lights are out.
Does that make sense to you, Ronald?
No.
What's that? Do you want to know what that is too?
No.
She's a nice person. Hi, Mom. I feel like you're pointed to.
He's very pointed on me.
Okay, Ronald, that's kind of rude.
Dang, Ronald.
You want to ask him to put it to the front and ask
Oh, very good.
about Lisa?
Oh, Ronald, here. Go ahead and go forward, okay? I got a question for you.
There we go.
Yeah, that was loud.
Yeah, that was.
Okay, Ronald. Is Lisa here too?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Lisa, can you say hi too?
So yes.
So very different compared to how they were acting with me versus how they were acting with her.
Right.
And it was very much like the second she got them, they were like, oh, good, it's her. And
They were like, la 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 la.
Yeah. And I greatly enjoyed that she recognized that when it pointed towards something, it was like, what is that? And then, because they typically just use the K2 and the RIM pod and the dowsing rods. They don't have night vision cameras that they bring with them. So the things that we had were things that they likely hadn't seen before unless another ghost hunting group had brought it with them. So I thought that was interesting. And then, was the bang in this?
Yeah, we both heard.
Yeah, when you said that was loud.
Yes. Okay. So, that was captured on everything, of course, because it was super loud. And that was the start of a series of just noises.
And I heard, for some reason, Taylor kept hearing stuff in the Admiral's area, which was behind me. And I kept hearing stuff back in the captain's, which was from the point of view of that camera, the hallway that's lit up, that it was back that way.
Yeah, back over.
Oh,
So
okay.
I kept thinking there, and at one point, I think I even see something come around that corner, and I turn and I see
We're gonna talk
George's
about that,
profile.
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? So
Yes. Yeah. So there is that bang initially. There's this whole series of bangs that occur here. But Nancy asks, Ronald, is Lisa here too? And it says yes. And then she says, Lisa, can you say hi too? And it says yes. And then George and Nancy start to tell us Lisa's story. So George starts to tell it, and Lisa Mayo is the one that I talked about in the history, that she was the first female casualty. At one point, she says, she's got the dowsing rods, and George is telling the story, and as he's telling the story, the rods are crossing for yes to confirm certain aspects of the story. And then they ask, Lisa, you know about women in the Navy, correct? And it says yes. And they had asked in a previous investigation, Lisa, whenever Women of the Navy is complete, does that mean you can go to heaven? And it said yes. So they ask again, does that mean she can go up to heaven? Got no response. And then when you go to heaven, Ronald, you can go too, right? And got no response. And then after a little bit of us just talking some more, they ask again, Lisa, can you go up to heaven when Women in the Navy is all done? And it said yes. And then they ask, Ronald, will you go with her? And it said yes. And then she said, but Ronald, you can come back, right? And it said yes. So Lisa is going to go up to heaven, and Ronald's going to go with her. We actually discover that Ronald and Lisa are a couple, They've kind of gotten together, and that was a whole thing. But Lisa's going to go up and stay, but Ronald wants to come back so he can go back and forth between whenever he wants to. So
I wonder why Lisa doesn't want to.
I don't know. They didn't. I don't know if they ever asked her
I thought
anything.
it was that Lisa couldn't come back.
I thought it was that she didn't want to. So I don't know. We didn't go very far into that.
See, I would have been like, can you tell us what heaven's like?
Right? Yeah.
Ooh, that's a question.
That is a question. At this point, I ask if there's an AC vent nearby because I've had this cold mass on this side of me the whole time.
Okay.
And
when she says this side of me, she is
my left side.
There
sorry.
you go.
Yeah, on my left side. And George was like, "Oh yeah, there's one right up there," and it happened to be up above me on my left side. So I was like, "Oh, okay, great. That's the AC.
Explains
That's why I'm cold." So they continue telling Ronald and Lisa's stories, and Whitney at one point reacts to something, and she says that she thought she saw someone peeking in, but it turned out to just be George's profile.
Are you about to tell me that it wasn't?
No.
Oh,
No.
I was like, holy fuck.
No.
I can't. I gotta go.
No, so
Jesus Christ.
Unfortunately, your camera George was leaned back in his chair and you couldn't see his face, but there was nothing that peeked around the corner of the room. But if something peeked around George, I couldn't see it. So I can't verify that yes or no something was there or was not.
It was enough, and like I feel like it now. That I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Like,
She
in the moment, I was like, "Woo, okay."
Yeah.
And like, and right now, I'm like,
because
"Woo."
it was enough that like she started and I looked over and I was like, "You good?" And she was like, "I thought I just saw something." And that's kind of how I felt with that shadow. I mean, I didn't get the adrenaline rush with it, but I was like, I definitely saw something. So,
and it was one of those like, because I was watching Nancy, so it was definitely out of the corner of my eye kind of thing, and it was enough that even though George, like we did not change positions. We had been in there for a good 20 minutes at that point. That like I know he's sitting next to me. Yeah. He and I have looked at each other multiple times with all of the noises. And for some reason that one time, like his profile just scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. So at that point, George tells us that he had seen something out of the corner of his eye too, but he hadn't said anything because he is like me, where he wants to logically understand what he's seeing before saying whether it's paranormal or not, because that's how I tend to do stuff. Like, is
to his right?
Yeah, to his right in the same direction Whitney saw the thing. And so Nancy was like, "If you see something, say something." Like, this is it was very funny. But George and Whitney both were like, "Whoever's in the hall, can you make a noise?" And nothing really happens with that. And then Nancy asks Ronald, "Is there someone in the hall?" And it says no response. And then she asks, "Were you in the hall?" And it says yes. So Nancy was like, it could have been Ronald that was making noise in the hall.
But still, it'd be like, okay, but that doesn't make it any better.
Right.
I still saw something.
Right. So Nancy gives the rods back to me again. And I said, "Ronald, do you want to come back because you like being here?" And he said yes. So that's why he would come back and forth. And I asked Ronald to straighten the rods for me. And as he's doing that, we catch on all of the equipment a very, I don't want to say loud, but it's a metallic kind of sound. So here is that.
What was that? Sounded big.
Do I need to play it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like something being thrown or...
Yeah. Yeah. So that was just one in a series, but George said it sounded like a doorknob. And then he mentioned at one point the air is off. And I was like, but we just said that I'm cold, but now you're telling me the air is off, and we've not heard the air kick on or off this entire time. So what is this cold thing next to me? So George asks, "Can you make that noise again?" And then he says, "Please." And we get the dowsing rod saying yes, but then we also get a bang in towards the captain's quarters.
Can you make that noise again, please?
stranded out there that I heard. It sounded like a heel walk out there. Got a yes.
There's also something at the very first of that.
I think that's Nancy.
Huh?
I think that was Nancy.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
somebody
like a.
said,
Because, yeah,
Oh yeah.
in response to George asking that, and then I said, "Do you hear that?" So
Okay.
she's responding to whatever it was that I heard.
Mhm. Yep.
And I did, it sounded like,
I heard a faint or
yeah,
something.
and that's the heel that I thought I heard.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
sounded like, I kept talking about like the heel of like an officer's shoe or like dress shoes kind of thing.
Right.
Not like
high heels.
high heels, but
yeah.
So we ask Ronald, "Is that you making noise?" We get no response. Is there someone else making all the noise? No response. And at this point, I'm like, we're not getting anything from the dowsing rod. So I put those down. I say, "If you're out there in the hall making noise, can you come in here and touch one of the balls on the table?" Nothing happens. And then at this point, we start to get continuous just sounds for like 3 or 4 minutes where it's just, there'd be one here. And the video is literally Nancy and George just.
for those of you who can't see,
You can't see what
Taylor's
I'm doing.
pointing.
I'm pointing in directions, and that was basically anytime we heard something, we would point to like recognize that we were hearing it, and it was like somebody was just messing with stuff, and it
like a kid playing like in their dad's office and they're touching everything they shouldn't be, kind of thing.
Right.
And were you guys in agreement where you were hearing things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, typically we would do something and all of us would go in one direction.
Okay.
So about 6 minutes later, George asks, "Can you make another knock like this?" And then he knocks on the table, and then it's quiet for about 30 seconds, and then we get a response. So this is a video, but you're listening just as much as you're watching.
Okay.
Can you make another knock? This?
Did you see the light anomaly?
I'll look again. But so you're going to hear the knock, and there's a voice after the knock.
Are you talking about that really light?
Yeah,
The
there's a
light one.
really, like,
the
towards the
very
end.
light towards the end. There's a voice that happens after
Okay,
that.
I
So
didn't hear
I'll
the
look for
voice.
the light anomaly. Y'all listen for the thing.
Can you make another knock? This?
See, I thought that was George
Nope. It's not George.
because it's a knock and then it's like a yep or a
Oh,
yeah.
see, I hear.
I hear sorry.
Oh, I don't hear sorry.
Okay, let's play that
But
little part again.
that light anomaly
Yeah,
comes
it
up
goes
from behind you and then over across
Yep.
the table.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
maybe out that door.
Maybe, yeah. So, but there's definitely, I don't think it's George. It's very breathy, and we only get it on your camera. It doesn't occur on anything else. That's why maybe I
See,
should have said that
also hear
before.
another. I
In
hear
the middle.
in the middle, and
A
then
very, very faint
there's
one.
another one.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were getting it all over the place.
Yeah,
So,
it was crazy. Yeah.
after that, it was really, really quiet. And we, at this point, are just kind of chilling, just waiting for stuff to happen. And George is showing Whitney and I an EVP that somebody had come onto the ship and caught. And it turned out to be saying Jacobs. And Whitney and I couldn't initially hear it, but whenever he said it, of course, we were like, oh, yeah, we hear it now. But during this time period, George has come over and he's kind of standing behind me and he's got his phone out and I'm listening. But at this point, a cabinet door that's behind us opens on its own. And we only are able to catch the flash of the cabinet opening twice. So it opens and George basically says, "Oh my God, the cabinet opened." And I turn around and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's weird." And so I go to push the cabinet closed again and it won't close to begin with. It feels like there's something pushing it open. I manage to get it closed and then a few seconds later it opens back up on its own. And then we spend the next however long trying to debunk it, but I've closed it at that point. And Whitney brings her camera over and sets it down so that it's facing the thing.
Okay.
It never opens again. And when George and Nancy, when that happened, they were like, "We have never had that cabinet open."
Huh.
And so that was a strange thing. I'm going to play the video for you. If you look between George and I, you'll see the flash of the cabinet opening in the infrared light. So.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I was wondering if that was you.
Oh my goodness.
I heard it.
I heard it
I heard it too.
The doors just open.
Yeah, right there, Jason.
Yeah. Those doors just open.
I know.
That'll be the same area whenever when I close it, it'll open again in that same area.
Yeah, I thought so too. I've never seen the open.
No.
Wow.
Holy cow. That's never happened.
That's crazy.
That's bizarre.
I'm pretty happy. You're like, stop worrying about this guy. What about me? Yeah, I was going to say that's what we heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They
that
opened up. Oh my gosh, that's never happened.
So that's trying to debunk it. No, I've never seen. There's no debunking of it.
No.
So, okay, so that's been closed. But it wasn't in here that's keeping it. Okay. No, I mean, there's nothing. That's not the sound it was.
No.
So, this, if I just pull this, that would be the close button. And that wasn't enough. That's what I heard. Yeah.
So I actually
And this is the exact position they were in.
I bumped up against the cabinet.
And that's what I thought.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was,
Okay.
I've never seen that.
No, I was closing again. Let me go over here. See the same thing.
I mean, you were just talking.
I was just talking.
But you back,
I was here and I backed into it like this.
but that doesn't affect the
That's
cabinet.
not-
And I didn't even
And it
hear
wasn't,
that.
you didn't hit that.
No, I did.
Yep.
Try one more time. Just a little.
Because it feels like there's an airlock in there. It's cold in there.
Oh, we got that one clear. I didn't realize we got that.
It opened on its own again?
It opened on its own again.
See, I would get the dowsing rods out and be like, who was that?
So at that point, George starts really trying to debunk what's happening because he thought he backed into the corner of the cabinet and maybe that opened it.
And that's
So-
what I thought it had happened at first. So I was like, oh no, like he fell into the cabinet, like lost his footing. But I do enjoy the second time it opens. I backed up and was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I pieced out.
when she got the camera over and set it down so that it was facing the cabinet, she was like, if that thing opens again, I think we're done. I don't know if we're gonna handle it. So, but he started jumping and stomping, and he ran into the cabinet again. He like knocked the cabinet again, and it would not open, and it did not open again after that.
It was just the 2 times.
Yep. And it was just a very strange, we can't explain it. Unfortunately, it's not from a great angle, so it's kind of difficult to see. It's also difficult. It would be easy for a skeptic to say, you've got something there. That's, you know, but
you guys know.
Yes, we know
were there.
That none of us caused that to happen.
And
so
it was the cabinet. So there's a cabinet behind Taylor and then a cabinet behind next to Taylor. And it was the one next to her. So it's not like she reached back and was like.
And you'll see, because we have this facing that cabinet in this next video, you'll see exactly which cabinet it was that opened.
Okay.
So this was when George and Nancy kind of like started going back and forth, and George would be like, you know, well, what if? And then Nancy would be like, but you weren't doing that. And he'd be like, I know, Nance, but I'm just. And so
I'm just trying to figure it out.
Calm myself down.
We thought it was hilarious. They were so funny. So after that, we decide to just sit and observe for a while. And this is out of place when you listen to the whole recording, but I don't know if you guys will recognize it whenever you listen to just what I've cut. There's this very dull tapping noise that happens next to Whitney's camera that it sounds
now by you,
which is now by me, and it's very muffled, but you only get it on Whitney's camera. So
And are we going to see the door?
You'll see where that cabinet was.
It's not going to open. And to be fair, this table has, you saw it's got like a tablecloth.
Yeah, it's got a cloth on it.
Everything.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah. So here's that video.
Whoever opened up that cabinet, if you're still here, can you do it again before we go? Oh, that's loud.
I can barely hear it.
Barely.
It's just like,
Yeah, but it happens just for that little bit and then it's done. And I don't know if it's coming from the table or if it's coming from something around the table. But either way, this is the cabinet that opened.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we have it focused on that, and we were hoping maybe it would open.
You really aren't sitting anywhere near the cabinet.
No. Mm-mm. So, and
I have to. You would have.
I would have to
seen her
reach back,
really reach and open it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We did get one weird light anomaly, and I'm going to call it a light anomaly because I have 2 dust anomalies that show up. They are definitely dust. Then we have one weird one that I can't explain. It's going in the opposite direction that all of the dust is going, and it's moving very slow. And right after it, we get a sound that comes through on Whitney's camera only.
Okay.
So the first 2 specks that you're going to see are going to be the dust, and then the final one is going to be what is different from everything else.
Okay.
So there's going to be one video, then a brief pause, and then another video, and then a brief pause, and then the orb. Okay?
I heard it earlier. Like, I heard it, and you were like... Yeah, I pointed. It was back behind me. There was something that tapped back there.
And they have one person that's a skeptic that's in the group.
Yeah.
She tries to debunk everything that occurs, or as best as she possibly could. You know. Go ahead.
So she talked to Blakely, who's a crew member. She spoke.
Okay. So I'm not saying that that's anything paranormal. I'm saying that it goes in the opposite direction and much slower than everything else does.
It's bigger.
It's big. And at this point, that cabinet has opened and hasn't, like, Nancy didn't even know that cabinet could open. Oh. So it was covered in dust in there. So there's a good chance that, because the second that opens and we close it again, we start getting light anomalies. We start getting dust flying and stuff. The only reason I pulled that one out was because it was different. Mm-hmm. So, but it could very well still be dust. So, now, approximately 5 minutes later, we were talking and I felt a sting on my shoulder and we thought that I had gotten scratched. And at one point, Whitney asked, "Did you scratch yourself?" And I was like, "No, I didn't scratch myself." But when I was looking through the footage, you can clearly see me scratch myself in that exact area 3 times. Because when I think I'm being stung or, bitten by something, I scratch it to get it away. So I just wanted to play that to show that I'm actually scratching myself during this, and it's likely not a paranormal scratch.
Put a big like debunk. Snap,
I'll do a la Ghost Adventures. Yeah, I'll do that. So here is the video of me scratching myself. Yeah, I'm very disappointed too.
The first time we only got 3, and BJ was with us, and BJ had also been in the training. George, the Reds didn't do anything for him. BJ, they also did that.
I have a pain in my shoulder. Like it feels like.
Play it again.
Okay.
The first time we only got 3, and BJ was with us, and BJ had also been in the training. George, the Reds didn't do anything for him. BJ, they also did that.
I have a pain in my shoulder. Like it feels like.
See, you're not scratching
Hard enough.
You're not scratching the way that it was scratched.
I'm not?
No.
No.
Okay.
You're scratching up and down.
And this kind of goes to the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first time we only got 3, and BJ was with us, and BJ had also been in the training. George, the Reds didn't do anything for him. BJ, they also did that.
I have a pain in my shoulder. Like it feels like.
And it's very clear that you feel something.
Yeah, well, and that's, I put in here, while I do have an explanation for the scratch marks themselves, I do not have an explanation for the stinging sensation or the fact that I felt bruised for 3 days after it. So I actually still, right there, it feels bruised to touch.
I was gonna say, the picture I remember you showing me, the scratch marks were going a different way.
And we'll post the picture. You guys can tell us, yes, you did do that to yourself, or no, you didn't do that to yourself. But I wanted to make sure that I put that out there, that I did scratch myself. That being said, my nails are typically at the quick. I don't actually have a lot of nail to scratch with.
I feel like scratch yourself now.
And I've actually stood in
You're
front of the
not
mirror.
welting up like
Yeah.
that did.
I stood in front of the mirror and scratched myself back here several times and watched it to see if it would do it, and I never could get it to do what it did
Because
there.
that's like a
That's
dig.
like a-
Yeah.
to get a welt like you had, because it was raised.
It was
and
raised.
everything.
Yeah. So that was just, I wanted to put that out there that I may have caused that, but according to y'all, I didn't. So
You may be reacting to that instead of causing it.
Yeah.
might be. Yeah. Yeah. So
Is that why you were like, I want you to
I
play,
wanted to see it
because
again,
you are
'cause-
scratching the same way.
Yeah, because if you are scratching, if you
This way?
had your
I
arms
went like
wrapped
this-
like you were giving yourself a hug, then yeah. But
Okay.
you went up,
and over.
like over your shoulder, and scratched up and down.
Okay.
Not to the side.
Yeah.
Well, then
I mean, I was going to say,
semi. Yeah. It's possible, but yeah. So, but I'll post a picture of the scratches along with everything else whenever we post the thing for this video. And if you're like, nah, you did it to yourself, then that's fine. If you're like, no, I don't think you did it, then that's fine too.
It would be nice if you got opinions about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I
yeah.
thought you were going to say it would be nice if you got scratched. And I was like, damn.
I mean, it's cool if you did.
Just like the being touched. I thought about that the other night, and I was like, is this what the taste of the thrill is? And now I'm like, I need to be touched by ghosts now. Like, is that what it is?
I don't know. So the only other weird thing that happened was whenever we were walking back to the volunteer room, and I did not post footage of this because I totally forgot about it until literally just this moment.
Oh, that's almost like your video's ended, but I
Yeah.
know I have video of it.
Yeah, so I'll post the video and I'll show you guys before we tear all this down. When we walk out into the main hangar deck and you turn around to face the direction we just came,
we were waiting on Nancy to come back down. So we just, it's not like we all came out at the same time. We're like, do, or like we were waiting. So we were standing there and turned around.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are these panels that are up high that are for maintenance. One of these was open. And they have never been open before. And George, it was enough that George and
they've never been open before.
George has, well, no, I said that wrong. George was like, I've never seen that open during an investigation. Typically, if it is open, it's like during the daytime and somebody's doing some kind of maintenance or something like that. So it was weird enough that George went and got what are they called? C&D or D&C. I can't remember. Basically security for the ship, and had them come over, and he was like, is there any reason that should be open? She was like, I mean, that's a technician bay, but nobody's here to open that right now.
That's normally a port, so there's closure up to the captain's quarters. So it's open. Just, you know.
Hard about that.
I've never seen it open. And it was closed when we passed by there about an hour ago.
Yeah.
So just letting you know, thinking, why is that open now? Yeah, that's different too.
And so we had asked if it could open the cabinet again. We wonder if maybe that swung open instead. So, but we don't have any footage of it because, I mean,
we don't have
we've got footage
opening.
of us finding it. We don't have footage of it opening.
I was going to say, there's no footage of you walking into that area to where you might see it was open.
Neither of our cameras were working during that.
Oh, okay.
So,
But I mean, we were there during the day, and it wasn't there, and that was right next to the plane that had the wing that was put up, so we would have noticed. Like, we were literally standing in front of the plane that George, at the beginning of the night, was like, yeah, these would be there, and it would have been burp.
We took a picture in front of it. George and Nancy took a picture in front of it because they wanted to post that on their website.
I don't know if it's on there, though.
I don't know.
It's us in the plane. I don't think you see it.
We can see if they've got it.
Maybe they've got it.
Yeah, maybe, but
we can see. But yeah, so that was just kind of the weird final thing. After that, we went and we kind of signed the rest of our paperwork and headed out. And overall, it was just a really cool experience. And we immediately were like, so we'll be back next year. So
I think we should.
I think so too. Do an anniversary one.
There was also, I wanted to point this out. So whenever we started the night, Nancy had a sheet of paper that had, you know, there's this location and this location and this location. And so she circled the ones we wanted to go to. And if there was anything off of that list, she wrote it down. So she said that they started doing this and handing it into security or whatever they're called. I can't remember either. At the end of the night or the next morning. So then that way, whenever they come in, they know like to kind of go check those spots or like whatever. Because whenever they started roping everything off for tours, like, you know, we were allowed to go places where the tours weren't, which meant undoing some of those little ropes.
Oh, okay.
And so I guess there's been a couple times that they forgot to re-rope it. So security's like, hey, you guys went through here and you didn't do this. And so there's been instances that they had gone through a place and they're like, hey, you guys really need to turn the lights off when you're done in this spot. And she's like, we did not go there last night. So they started sending in a list to be like, you know, double check these areas. Maybe something happened, like we forgot to do X, Y, and Z. But if anything else is off and it's not one of the areas we were in, that wasn't us.
Right.
And they mentioned that like the staff and everyone that's there, that works there, either overnight or maintenance or just volunteers, they've had experiences and they've had, you know, lights on, they've had cabinets open, doors open and closed, all of that kind of stuff. So it
would be interesting for you to go back and like go into these rooms where you were talking to Irwin and
Irving and Ronald and Lisa and all of them.
Yeah.
Really all of them.
And ask, you know, do you remember us? Or you know.
Go back to the brig. You still think I belong in here?
So we there is another area in Corpus that is the courthouse that
is it a courthouse?
Yeah, it was the former courthouse.
Oh yes, it was.
Yes.
And the top, so the main part of it was like courthouse where you would come and do it, and then the top couple floors were jail cells.
Yes. And it's abandoned.
Abandoned and dilapidated.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But you can get permission from the city of Corpus Christi to go out there and do stuff.
Well, we could look into it.
We could look into it,
get permission.
But George and Nancy told us some stories about that, and something that happened to somebody who trespassed in there, and they had a negative entity attached to them, and so
would George and Nancy go with you?
we asked, and they seemed open to it. So
The guy that was at the nice hotel,
yeah,
whenever we checked in and I explained what we were doing, he was like, "Oh, you know what you guys should do if you don't mind a little trespassing? You should go to the courthouse." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't think we want to do that."
yeah. The last thing that I need right now is to call my parents to bail us out of jail after everything that we've gone through. So, but that's another place that we were interested in, and then we did find the original hotel that we were looking to stay in, where Selena was killed in front of.
Again, would have been perfect because that was the anniversary of her death.
But that's why we want to go back next year on the same weekend or the same days.
Time.
So then that way we can do what we originally intended, see George and Nancy again, maybe, of course do the Lexington again, but then maybe also do the courthouse as well. So, yeah.
And just a quick thank you to everyone at the Lexington and Blue Ghost Paranormal, and then a big, huge thank you to George and Nancy for everything. You guys are great and amazing, and
we can't wait to see you again.
We can't wait to see you again. And if we have other things that we think y'all might be interested in, y'all want to come out to it, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was our rundown of the USS Lexington, all 4 parts of it, and we hope that you keep listening.
And we will spook you bitches later.
Spook you bitches later. Splash. Goodbye.
Bye.